doggy.
That's Otto.
Aww.
The inspiration for the dog Ruby, the schnauzer in Emmie and the King.
It's so crazy because it's like, I've already read this and I've already read it twice, and this is like the third time, but it's like getting towards the end of like his, like who goes after his sister. I'm like, I don't remember.
Oh, that's good.
And then you find out, so it's like, oh crap, that's right.
Oh, well, I'm pleased to hear that. A surprise every time.
Right? Hey guys, welcome to Author Chat. I know this is like the only one that I've done this month, which is like crazy. I kind of changed around how things are done for the show with just so much going on with work and kids in school and just everything. I was going crazy. So happy to have Natalie back though, and her lovely accent that I wish I had one.
You do have an accent. You have an American accent.
Well, yeah. And mine's kind of weird because like I live in Florida, but I don't have like a Southern accent because I'm from Ohio. So
right. Yeah. It all sounds the same to me.
Right?
Yes. Nice to be here.
You kind of get used to it, especially like when I see people from like Canada and stuff, and they have like just a slight difference, you can kind of pick it out.
Yes, I'm married to a Canadian.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So I'm very familiar with the Canadian accent, and actually I can hear the difference between Canadian and American. Right? Yeah, it's very subtle, but I hear it now.
Yeah. Once I was, when I worked for the movie theater, a lady came in and her husband was talking on the phone. And I'm like, I asked her, like, oh, what language is he speaking? And she just burst out laughing because they were Scottish. And he's just got a really, really strong Scottish, like the brogue type thing, I guess is what she called it. And she's like, everybody thinks he's speaking a language. He's completely speaking English, but it's just the strongness of his accent. And she loves it because I guess they hear it all the time, and it makes her laugh so hard.
Like, yeah, that's a tough accent, Scottish.
Right.
I've seen movies, they're all in English, but they're subtitled because of the heavy Scottish accent. So I understand
really?
that.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. Well, guys, you know the drill. If you have any questions, toss them into the live chat. If for some reason YouTube is being mean and won't let you do that, you can toss them onto any social media. Just tag me at Crossword Review and I will find it. So, of course, we are here today with the Natalie Murray, the author of Emmie and the Tudor King, and now Emmie and the Tudor Queen. And I'm so excited. I am so late to the party, though, because I just finished book one again, like maybe an hour or so ago. I am 19% into book two. So
wow, that's fast.
This says I've got like 4 hours left. So we're gonna see if I can beat that time. I don't know how.
They're almost exactly the same length, which is really quite bizarre how that just naturally happened. They're very similar in length, the two books.
Another author, she keeps all of her books around 250 pages. She's like, it just seems to be the way that it happens. She doesn't like knowingly do it. It just happens. Yeah. Bookley says I'm going to finish it in 3 hours. So I'll go with Bookley.
Oh, I hope you like it.
Oh, I love these books. I never thought historical fiction, historical romance was going to be something that I was ever going to enjoy because I hate history. It was the one subject in school I despised. I could never remember dates or anything. But then I started reading it and I'm like, I've fallen in love with something that I thought I would hate, which is really weird. And this one's so good because it's like, it's that, slight combination of, historical fiction, but then the, romance, and then that little, science fiction fantasy thing of the time travel. And it works so well. It just kind of reminds me of like Outlander for teens. And stuff. And
it is sort of a bit like Outlander for teens. It's definitely for a younger audience, and Outlander is obviously quite mature.
Oh yeah,
but we're two different time periods and countries that we're traveling to it in the books. But yeah, I'm happy with that. Anytime you want to compare it to Outlander, I'm thrilled.
Oh, it's so good though. I love this story, and it's like you bumped up the humor in book two.
Did I?
Yeah. I'm like over here and I'm just like chuckling and stuff. And like I'm in the living room and they're like, and my daughter's like, what's so funny? I'm like, you wouldn't understand. You're not reading it. Go back to work. And yeah, I love all of the little things in italics where Emmie's, thinking about herself, like they're gonna eat you alive and all this stuff. I really love that. I wish book one would have. I mean, book one had a lot of that in there, but this one, like just right at the right moment, just to make you, giggle, just a smidge. I love it.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that. It's funny you say that because I thought book two was less funny. I thought book one had more humor and more sort of lighthearted cracks in it. Do you understand what I mean by cracks? It might be an
Yeah,
Aussie
yeah, you're fine.
little jokes. Yeah, so I'm pleased that you say that because at one point I was thinking Emmie's too serious in this book, but maybe not. It's funny how the writer and the reader can have completely different interpretations.
Oh God. Oh God. I can fully understand that one. I started helping out another author that I know with her new book that's coming out next year. And I'm like, I'm never gonna know a book better than this one because I have read it so many times. And now it's like I want people to read this book and I want them to feel like their souls have been ripped out of their body. And I'm like, Lord, is this how you authors always feel? Like if your readers haven't finished the book and they're not in a sobbing mass of tears, you haven't done your job.
Yeah, we do. We want tears. We want laughing out loud. We want it all.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes me appreciate you authors so much more now.
Oh,
because after doing that, because I mean, you get so, I mean, I thought I got wrapped up with characters and stuff, like Emmie and Nick and stuff reading their stories, but getting ingrained into it and figuring out, okay, how this needs to go and stuff. Oh man, that's hard.
It's so much harder than it looks.
Yeah.
To plot that together and to reach that level of emotion as well. Right. And I find if I'm writing a scene that's really high emotion and I cry while I'm writing it, then I think, look, that I'm onto a good thing. And writers do that all the time, right? We get very upset when we're writing certain scenes. And the reverse, if I'm writing a scene and the words sound good but I'm not feeling anything, then I know it's not ready.
Well, man, like the ending part of book one, I'm like sitting here, it's like, no, you can't cry. You got to finish the book so you can start the next one. You don't have time for this because it's hard.
You wait till you get to the end of book two then.
No, oh God.
It's even more intense.
It's hard.
So
it's hard to read when you can't see through your tears of sadness.
Oh, I don't want to make you cry that much.
Oh, goodness.
That's actually very good feedback. Cry.
So how many books are going to be in this series?
Maximum of 3.
Okay.
If I write a third book, that will be the last. I shouldn't say that. You never really know, but that would be the plan, would be the last one. But nothing's official yet for a book 3. I'm playing with some ideas at the moment, and hopefully I can make a decision one way or the other very soon.
So then, because I've got like 3 hours to go that I'm going to be finishing this tonight. How bad of a cliffhanger am I looking at here towards the end of this one?
Yes. Look, it's a bit like book 1.
Okay.
There's room for a third for sure. But if it ended with book 2, it wouldn't be too many unanswered questions. There'd be a few unanswered questions, a bit like the end of book 1.
Well, see, I like how you ended book 1 because, it's an ending, but then it's also open to be able to have more to it. And it works. You have a lot of these books that they end and they don't answer all the questions, but they just kind of end, or you have ones that kind of don't really end. They sum up everything, but it just kind of ends openly. And then you're just kind of like, well, psh. Well, crap, man, what am I supposed to do now?
Very hard to end a book,
right? So
it's the hardest part.
I really like how you ended this, or for book 1. It works very well. And then of course book 2 starts up right where that one leaves off, with kind of a slight hiccup that you're not sure. It's like, okay, was it the horse's fault? Was it not the horse's fault? Oh crap. Yes.
Yes, there's a whole fresh set of problems for Emmie and Nick in book 2. And I really wanted to start where book 1 left, because I didn't want to miss a moment of this relationship, because at the end, I mean, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but at the end of book 1, you know, we're really seeing them come together properly for the first time. And how is that going to work? What's it going to look like? How will they be able to handle their differences? So I didn't want to jump time, you know, and I don't like it myself when I'm reading a series and then I pick up another book and then a year's passed or 6 months
Right.
has passed.
I think
Yeah.
sometimes it works, especially because, you know, from the time that book came out to the next one, if you have around the same amount of time, you know, it's kind of like you didn't lose anything, you know, like that same
Yes.
such a period has gone. They have suffered with you
Yes.
for your hope for the next title.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if there's a book 3, there will be a time jump.
Mm-hmm.
For reasons that would make no sense now if I said them. But yeah, book for sure. I was happy to start book 2 pretty much within a few
Yeah, I
hours
think
of book
it
1.
worked. Yeah, I mean, it definitely worked out for the story, because I think that if you would have had like an actual time jump, you wouldn't have got all that, you know, that urgency of that oh crap,
Yeah.
this ain't
Yeah.
working.
Yes. Yeah.
So, do you think starting book 2 really had me thinking, because you know Emmie is, you know, back in, was it 1850?
1580.
1580. I knew I was going to reverse those numbers. So 1580, and you know, she's realizing she kind of may not be cut out for this, but she's going to try anyway, you know, and all these people are against her. Do you think that you would have survived back then? Because with all, like, as soon as she got dressed up to sit and embroider, I'm like, I would be going out of my mind. Can I go back to my time? I'll just grab my totes of books, you know,
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Yeah. I think my reaction would be very similar to Emmie's. I mean, Emmie is very much me, really. My mum, who's reading book 2 now, says, I just see you when I read Emmie, because, you know, we're very similar people, and that's just comes out on the page as a writer quite naturally. So I think I would be like Emmie. I would be trying my best, but bless her. She's just not, there is so much for her to learn. There is so much about the protocols of the Tudor court. It is a very tall order to have her just show up and convince people that have, you know, from a completely different era, with completely different sets of rules and values, that she's one of the most accomplished among their community, you know. And that's a tall order, but you'll have to just wait and see how she goes.
I really love that, you know, that she wasn't, you know, that A+ student, you know, she wasn't like the history buff or anything like that. So, I mean, she only knows what she's looked up, you know, which of course that knowledge is going to come and go. I mean, if anybody, you know, you've looked stuff up on the computer, 5 seconds later, you're like, okay, what did I just read?
Yes.
It's not going to stick with you for the most part. So I really like, you know, that Emmie really feels just like a normal person, because she's not, you know, very proficient at this time period and stuff. I mean, with Outlander and stuff, you know, she had grown up with having being thrown into the world of it was archaeology with her uncle, and her husband was a historian. So, you know, she was kind of new stuff. And Emmie is just like, she ain't got nothing.
Yeah, especially in book 1. I think by the time we get to book 2, she's learned a lot, and she's wisened up. You know, I find
she's done her homework.
Yeah, I find her she's making better decisions in book 2 than some of the ones she made in book 1. But yeah, certainly as we start the series, she not only knows nothing about history, but she's not even interested in it.
Right.
Which yeah, it was fun to play with that, to throw her into one of the most dramatic periods in British history, when she really didn't even know, you know, some basics, like when she calls her dog German to one of the girls of the Tudor court, and then was Germany a thing? I mean, when was Germany founded as Germany? You know, So yeah, it was fun to have her clueless, and that causes a lot of obstacles for her.
Yeah, because it's like you can kind of see where like she says certain things and they're like, wait, what? And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I mean this, oh, this. I was like, I've been waiting for her to tell Nick that she wants some pants or something,
Yeah. Pair of jeans, please.
Yeah, it's like, please,
Yeah.
give me some pants, can't deal with all these dresses. Ooh, man, I
Yeah.
would not survive back there with all the dresses. Of course, with all my tattoos, I probably would last for a hot 5 seconds and then get burnt to the stake or something.
Which,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got like supernatural and all this stuff. There's no
Yeah.
hiding those.
Yes. I mean, in reality, if somebody from 2020 was sent back in time to the 1500s, there's a very high chance that you wouldn't make it for long, and you wouldn't be able to have a conversation with somebody
Nope.
very easily. So, there's an element of inviting the reader to take a bit of a leap of faith here, and translating a little bit of the Tudor dialogue into something a little bit more readable.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean,
Yeah.
it really works because you still get that old timey feel, but it's that slightly modernized. So you're not dealing with these and thous and whatever else in classic literature that I've tried to read, and I just end up putting it down and go read something
Yes.
else. So
That's right. I mean, the interesting thing is all of the words that are used by the 16th century characters do date back to that time. So I haven't used any words that just weren't in existence then. The way sentences were structured and the way people would address people, I've altered that to the point where the book is readable,
right.
modern audience. But the actual language is really quite authentic, and I've tried to make that as authentic as possible.
I think you've done really well, especially with like a lot of like the actual history aspects, like where she gets up and she talks about the Nightingale, Bridget, wiping her teeth down with the mint cloth and with the tooth cloth. And I'm like, okay, whoa, is that like seriously all they had for basically a toothbrush? That sucks.
Yeah. Yes, I didn't want everyone to be walking around with black teeth and bad
right.
breath. So there's a bit of creative license there. But yes, I mean, they did use tooth cloths or teeth cloths. I think they were tooth cloths. And charcoal. And, they did wash and they didn't smell the way a lot of people have mistakenly believed. So, I don't think they washed their hair very often.
Right.
And maybe that's why they covered their hair a lot. I'm not sure.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lady on YouTube that talks about like 18th century dressing and like even further back because she makes costumes, and she's like, yeah, that they would have like little sachets or something with like perfume and stuff in it to deal with like body odor and stuff like that.
Yes. Yep. That's true. And the expensive gowns, you wouldn't wash the outside of your gown. So
right.
As described in the book, a Tudor dress that when I say dress, it's not even really the right word. There's different pieces to a Tudor.
Oh God, yeah.
And the
layers
outer
upon layers.
layers upon layers, and the outer pieces that you would see for the wealthy folk that were very, delicately embroidered and very expensive, they didn't wash. They would wash the undergarments. So you'd wear like a smock underneath, and that's what you would wash. So you'd brush down the outside of your gown, but I don't think they would soap them up like.
Yeah, probably not, because it would, especially a lot of the stuff was like pure wool and velvet and stuff like that. You don't want to get that stuff wet. So no. I'm actually going to mute my mic because they're about to bring the dogs in and they are really loud. So what have you been reading recently? And you can talk about that. And I'm going to mute my mic until the dogs are in. Yeah,
sure. Actually, the last book I read was Bill Bryson's The Body. So it's not even fiction for you. That my mum bought that for me as a gift, and I love Bill Bryson. I love his humor. He's I could read anything that he writes, and I've read almost all of his memoirs. So he's written a book called The Body, and it goes through the human body from tip to toe and everything in between, and he explains very clearly and with some humor what everything actually does and why things happen the way they do, and how much of the body we do not understand. And he talks about diseases, and he talks about why we walk on two legs, and I mean, it's just incredibly detailed. And it's just, I really recommend it if you're looking for a break from fiction. I almost always read fiction, but my mum bought this for me for my birthday, so it was actually kind of a nice break. And my next book that I've got lined up is a book about Anthony and Cleopatra. And to me, that is one of the greatest love stories in history. And I don't know much about it. I have actually read the Shakespeare play, Antony and Cleopatra, a long time ago. But this book, and I don't have it on me, and I don't remember the author's name, but I picked it up, and it's a sort of more of a drama, sort of fictionalized, semi-fictionalized tale of their love story. And yeah, that's one of my favorite romance stories from real life. Yeah. And I'm reading about Elizabethan England again. So I'm doing lots of, I'm fishing around for ideas for another book.
Won't say no to that one. Love it.
Did you get your dogs inside?
Yes, she did. They're in. Surprisingly,
Right.
they were not all that noisy.
Oh, good.
Man. And it is not the one that you'd think it would be, because we have 6 dogs, but we have 4 little chihuahuas that are my mom's, that are like old as dirt. And then my daughter's dog that is a Chihuahua wiener dog. And then the massive dog that you would think would be the one that would be the loud barker, which is an American bulldog, but he's like silent.
Oh, okay.
He almost never barks. It's all the little ones that are yammering on. Yeah, it's
gotta watch
it's
the
like,
little ones.
Oh,
I went once to a dog rescue place in Hong Kong where I used to live, and there were these huge dogs at the front where you walked in that were behind fences, and I was a little bit scared to walk past them because they really looked like beasts. And the lady who worked there said, "Oh, no, they're fine. You got to watch out for the little dog." And I walked across the room, and this little dog grabbed my ankle and was like,
oh yeah,
at me. So I hear you on that.
Booty wouldn't hurt a fly. The little one that looks like a miniature pincher, Pixie, she will take out your ankles. She will wait until you have your back turned, and then she will come and bite you. The big one, Booty, he would no sooner than put his tail between his legs, pee on the floor, and run away.
Oh,
he's a big baby. It's just don't stand by him if he's gonna wag his tail, and don't have bare feet, because if he steps on you or he hits you with his tail, you know about it. He's like he's a 75-pound horse that thinks he's a lap dog.
Oh, and it can be reversed with the little one thinking
that they're like,
yeah,
I guard dog.
Oh, wow,
it's
6
so
dogs.
Yeah,
that's a commitment.
They're so old. They are so old. Like, I think the oldest, I think she's like 14 or 15 years old. She's old.
Wow.
She's only 12? I thought she was older than that.
It's hard to keep track.
It's so hard. My goodness. But
especially
yeah, so oh my goodness. So what is next for you? Are you just going to focus on trying to figure out what book 3 is, or do you have another book lined up?
I have a few ideas milling around my head. I'm looking at another book in the Hearts and Crowns series, so the Emmie series. And then I've got a contemporary romance that I would like to write. Ooh. So I'm very, very wedded to the romance genre. But I don't know if I will write more historical fiction after this series. because it does take, it pretty much doubles the length of time to spend writing when you add in all the research. Having said that, though, I've done an incredible amount of research into the Tudor period, and I would like to utilize that as much as I can. And there are some really interesting real characters from the Tudor period that I'd like to write about. And I don't mean Henry VIII's wives and the really well-known ones. I think we have enough books. Well, probably could never have enough books about them. But some characters that you probably wouldn't have heard of, some periphery sort of characters that I'd like to write about. So
you could
definitely
even
keep writing
characters from these books, you know, like have Kit grow up and do, I don't know, something with her life.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I've thought about that already. Yeah, I mean, you never say never. I think if I write another book in the Emmie series, it will still be focused on Emmie and Nick. And then there is certainly room to do more with that.
Because that would be great, because then, you know, like you have like a spin-off, you know, where we get a new set of characters, but then we can also get an update of what's going on with Emmie and Nick and everybody.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Because I love updates.
Yes. Yeah, I would love to do that. And as long as, you know, I can keep writing and I'm lucky enough to be well and have the capacity to do that, then I'll keep experimenting with those sorts of ideas.
I'm one of those weird fans. Like I'm gonna message you like 10 years from now, like, yo, hey, what's Emmie and Nick doing? You know, I get an update, you know.
Emmie and Nicky, I like that. Sure, go ahead.
What are they up to? They got some kids yet? Nobody's got their head lopped off, you know, is everything okay?
Yeah. Look, I hang on to characters for a long time too when I like a series, or sometimes it's a TV series rather than a book. Here comes my little guy, Otto, my schnauzer. Yeah, so you can do that. Feel welcome.
Whoop whoop. It's like, you know, because you get so involved with these characters, and then the story ends, and a lot of them, you know, you don't get an epilogue to where it's like, you know, like what is it, like Harry Potter and stuff, where it jumps 19 years in the future. A lot of books, you don't get anything like that, so you're just kind of left. Oh, well, you know, they're alive, they're fine, they're married, they've got kids, whatever. You just don't know anything else, and it's kind of nice to know what your homies are doing.
Yeah,
because they're like, they become your best friends,
as long as it's good news.
Right? Oh, well, I'm sorry, you know, well,
didn't work out.
Nicky caught influenza or something. He died, or he died. You know, Emmie's fine. She's ruling the kingdom now. You know, they're good.
Yeah, yeah, that would be fun to have her as the ruling queen rather than just his wife. Yeah, who knows?
Lord, I hope in 10 years I don't get that update.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
No, I think if I do another book 3, it's going to tie everything up pretty well with the ideas that I have. So
I'm so excited. I'm seriously, because, like, you know, they have this ring, you know, I'm hoping it's still in working order, and that's not the reason why things aren't going SOL type area here. You know, it would be really cool to see, you know, her to go get her mom and explain everything to her mom and bring her mom back, and maybe her mom to find somebody, because, you know, her dad's you know, not a nice person. I won't swear on here, I promise.
Yeah, I'd like to see more people from the modern world go back with Emmie into the Tudor period. I wish you'd take me with her. I just want to see it just for a day, and then I'll come home. Yeah.
I remember a movie that was out forever ago, and it was where they had time traveled into the past, and they're like, okay, you know, it's a great place to visit. I do not want to be stuck here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we've got it good. Yeah. I mean, there's some things about, you know, the 16th century that, you know, I romanticize in my mind. Of course, I have a real idea what it was like, you know, to live where you got up with the sunrise and you went to bed with sundown, and you didn't have screens and TV and distractions, and you just sort of, you know, that simple sort of wholesome farmer's life. I could have easily fall. I could be Claire from Outlander, that what she's done.
But then
Emmy's got a little bit more complicated than her.
She's got a little bit better because she's in like the rich end of the time travel pool. But then you get like all the bad things, where walking down the street and being accosted and stuff was something that normally happened, and it's like we can go outside and walk down the street and not worry, we're not going to get raped or anything like that. But in this time period, it's like that stuff happened on the norm, and it's like it's just so crazy of how things have changed, because I mean that's really not that long amount of time, 400 or 500 years. It's not a big stretch on how rules and laws have changed over that period.
Yeah, it is incredible how far we've come since then. And of course, men and women were not equal in the early Renaissance period.
I'm waiting for Emmie to be because he knows that she already told him, that women have rights and stuff. I love one part of book 2 where I think she was talking to the guy that's pretending to be her uncle, and she's like, I've got 400 years of experience. I take him.
Yeah, that's right. If only she could just, tell people the truth about who she is and what she knows. I think, they'd run the other way rather than dismissing her the way they do.
I love how, the whole dynamic with her and all the different people, and how, Alice was kind of really pissed off at her, and then, this other girl shows up, and then she finds out who she is, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, another thing to do.
Yay.
Yeah.
I love how you describe everybody in here, because it's like, oh, that's the Victoria model is, strutting her stuff and all this stuff, and she's like goo goo gaga overing her while trying to completely hate her and stuff. I love all the descriptions because it's not overbearing like a lot of stories are. It just it fits so well, and even all her internal monologue just works so well for the story. And it's like I don't know how this didn't get picked up for a traditional publisher or anything, because I mean it's just so fabulous. And then you did this other one on your own, right? Or no?
Yeah, I did. So that's a long story.
I mean, this is just insane, and it's so amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I felt like I found a really good fit with an independent romance publisher that I wanted to work with. I wasn't necessarily looking for I didn't shop around for a big traditional publisher, to be honest with you. And then when I ended up signing the contract for Emmie and the Tudor King, I did receive some interest from a very, very big agent. And I said, I'm so sorry, I have the book sold. But now then, unfortunately, that publisher closed their books, at least temporarily. And are no longer operating. So it's very hard to sell a second book in a series when you don't have the rights to the first book. So I thought, so I didn't even shop around book 2 either. I just thought I'm going to use the same team, which I did. And I'll probably do the same thing with book 3. And who knows where the future lies for this series. So eventually I'm hoping to get the rights back for book 1.
That's what I was going to ask next. Like, can you get the rights back for book 1?
I hope so, because then what I can do is keep the series together. And, who knows where it could end up after that. I mean, I could always, you can rebrand, you can have 3 new covers, you can publish it in a different country, in a different language, all sorts of things. So, these books are forever in my mind. Once they're written, they're written. They don't have a limited lifespan of, their release year or anything. I'm planning to have these books around for a long time and do as much as I can with them. Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing series. I mean, and they're not all that long either. I mean, these are great. I mean, book 2 is I think it said it was 300 some odd pages. I mean,
they're just over 300 pages.
But it feels more like a 500 to 600 page book because so much stuff is going on in it that I mean, it feels so huge, and it's really not. I mean, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's kind of my sweet spot of length. That seems to be like your friend that you were talking about. When I write books, they just turn out that length. It's really funny how that happens. Yeah, I mean, I've read books that are, 600 pages. There are, I find that a little bit fatiguing. So
And here
I,
I got like
I
this
wouldn't
one that
want
I'm
to
going
write a
to read.
book that was that
Reading
long.
attempting to reread tomorrow because I
Oh,
read part of it, and I kind of
wow.
miss this one. It's so pretty though.
Yeah, isn't that
That is
beautiful?
like,
Yeah.
holy,
What
when
a
the
journey,
zombies
though, when
when
you
the
finish.
zombies come, I know what book I'm grabbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thing is massive. So what's the process to get your rights back from a book that you sold? You just like email them up and like, yo, I want my stuff back.
Yeah, well, there's obviously what's in the contract, which
Mhm.
is, if the publisher closes down completely, if the book goes out of print, there's all sorts of things like that. Or, you can negotiate a fee to buy the rights back. So I'm looking into all of that.
That's crazy.
I've been in touch with the Authors Guild. I know other authors that have been in similar situations. The
Yeah, I've seen a
publishing
lot of
industry
people
is in
posting
the
that.
publishing industry is obviously taken a hard hit this year,
Oh yeah,
like so many other industries. So things just aren't operating as normal anyway.
it's so crazy.
Yeah. But I'm just happy to write the books, and if people read them, find them, like them, then that's enough for me, and I find that a very rewarding process. And the whole publishing side is sort of like, do I have to deal with all that? Yeah.
Oh man, I know that. That is, I've got a whole bunch of books that I've like started writing and stuff, but I haven't actually finished anything. And everybody's like, no, you need to finish this. This is great. I want to read more. I'm like, but yeah, I just went through like an entire week of seeing what authors go through. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
for writing and rewriting and then ripping it apart and doing it all over again. I don't know if I want to do that. Maybe I just
It's a lot. And
yeah,
when you put a deadline on it, it's even
right?
more stressful. So it's all right when you're writing your first book and you don't have a deadline, you can sort of do it as it comes. But when you have a contract, that gets a little scary. But anyway.
So I've got deadlines for books I need to review, and I'm like, then COVID hit, then the girls are now in virtual school home, and then I got a job, and it's like, okay, so yeah, those deadlines,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they died a horrible, horrible death. So now I'm just like taking it one day at a time and just getting one book done at a time. It's like
That's
it'll
good.
eventually get posted.
Yeah. That's good. And I wrote Emmie and the Tudor Queen so fast that, it was quite intense.
How long did
And
it take you to write it?
well, I did it in a year
Oh, that's
if you
not bad.
include, multiple drafts and,
So like start to finish.
yeah, the whole process.
That's not bad though.
Research, flew to England, did everything. But yeah, so
Especially with all the my brain just said all of the history stuff that you have to research and stuff. I mean, that's not bad at all.
yeah. Well, I'd done a lot of the research already into the time period for book one.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew the base, all the costuming and the food and
Right.
the but yeah, there were different locations to research for book two and just different topics to deal with. So I didn't want to repeat anything that I didn't want to have to revisit the same settings or the same concept so much in book two as I did in book one. And if I do a book three again, it will be different.
Hey, that comes in handy though, because then you don't really have to worry about like going around a corner and be like, oh hey, this is a completely different hallway than it was in book one, because you're in
Oh
a completely
gosh,
different location.
I found that hard enough with the characters. I was like, wait, would he have said that? And would she really do that? And wait, what color was that guy's hair again? And where is that couple that were in book one? And now so it's like, so I should have kept a dossier, which authors
Right.
do. which I didn't. That was a mistake.
Oh goodness.
So now I have, for continuity, I have basically just have to go back and reread the other books to make sure that everything's makes sense.
But now you're at a different location, so you don't have to worry a lot like about, like what is white fall. You don't have to really worry you're gonna go around the corner and you're not gonna have it mapped out correctly.
I think it was more continuity of character and things like remembering, that. So the reason why Alice is upset with Emmie at the beginning of book 2 is because Emmie just keeps disappearing,
right?
And she's just had enough of it. And that's how I would react if someone I considered a dear friend just didn't include me in anything and just kept vanishing. And I thought, well, I can't have Emmie show up and Alice be like, hey, it's so good to see you. So little things like that, I try and keep everything, as realistic really as possible.
So we do have a writing question. Will Alice ever be reunited with her mother?
Oh, okay.
Like if it's a spoiler, it's maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
I mean, has her mom
it's
really
something I can't really answer without spoiling, but I can say that is a storyline that's revisited in Emmie and the Tudor Queen. So if you've read Emmie and the Tudor King and you're interested in finding out more about Alice and her mom, then I think you should read Emmie and the Tudor Queen.
So like for Jane, I mean, has she really fallen off the rocker, or did she just kind of go crazy because she was thrust into the future and she just didn't really know what was going on?
Well, I guess that's another question that if I answer it with too much detail, that I'm going to give a lot away. But Jane is, so you're talking about Jane Stewart, who is the hoarder, sort of eccentric lady from Emmie and the Tudor King that is from the present day and lives in Emmie's town. So she comes back in book 2 as well.
Okay.
And yes, you will find out more about her and why she is.
So I'm guessing something's going on, because I remember it's nice when I read them back to back, because it's like I'm remembering a lot of stuff from part 1 to go with part 2 that the house was already in, whoever owned it was in their will. So I'm guessing something's going on with that in, down the road, that somebody set that up knowing that she was going to be there. So I'm like, ooh, mystery.
Yeah. No, it's fun to that's the fun thing about writing a sequel, is that in one sense it's more difficult because you have to come up with a new storyline for characters that you've already sort of investigated and wrenched apart and dug into, and you have to come up with a whole new set of issues. But the fun part is you get to figure out what was kind of fun in book 1 and how you can play with that more and how you can dig deeper into it.
It's really cool because like things connect, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, that is fun, I think. And I didn't plan book 2 when I wrote book 1. I didn't plan out a series, so if I had, then I probably would have been able to have even had more fun with that and planted more foreshadowing and things like that.
Right. Yeah, because I think I remember when we talked when book 1 came out that was it. You hadn't planned on a book 2 as of yet, and I mean that had an ending. We were good. She went back. Done deal. And then of course you decided to go ahead and do book 2, and it's like yeah.
I feel like there's always more. So I've had people say to me, "Oh, how do you know? Like, if you didn't plan another book, how do you know that you can continue the story?" And I just like, there's always more. I feel I've never been worried about that. There's always more drama to find.
Right.
So yeah, now I'm in that position again that I was last time.
I'll get done with book 2 today. If I come up with any ideas, I will message you.
Oh, good. Thanks. Wow, you're going to read it all in today. Very impressed.
That is the plan. Well, I mean, it says I only have like 3 hours left, so
Yeah,
that'll be like 11 o'clock. Not bad.
that's reasonable.
Yeah. That's like 3 a.m., you know. Been
Yeah.
there, done that. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on the show. I cannot
Pleasure.
wait to finish book 2 and then cry because I don't have a book 3 yet. And because apparently it's going to end on an ending but not an ending. So
Mhm.
all the authors are
Can't
trying
wait
to
to
kill me
hear.
lately.
Can't wait to hear what you think. I do know one person who's very kindly bought the first 2 books and is refusing to read them until there's a third book because she wants to read the whole series together.
Right.
So I understand they're not wanting to wait. That's very
Oh,
kind. Thank
that
you.
just gives me a reason to reread them. You know, because I don't generally get to reread things. I don't have time. So, you know, anytime that the authors decide to come back on for a book 2 or a book 3 or whatever, it gives me a legit excuse. Like, okay, I got to pencil these in right here because I have to reread those so I can read the newest one. Yes.
Oh, thank you. It's
No,
fun to
God,
reread as well. You
it
always get something out
is.
of it.
You
Mm.
do. Because especially with as much as I read, I always forget stuff. So it's always like reading it for the first time for a lot of things. So
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite series, so I'm happy.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Jess. That's really nice to hear.
No problem. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Cannot wait for book 3 to come out.
If there's a book 3, and if there is, I promise to come back and talk to you about it if you'll have me.
Of course. But the biggest question is going to be what color is it going to be? You got blue, you got red. Where are you going to go from there?
I think we'll stick with jewel tones. We've got
Oh, okay.
ruby red, a very, very dark sort of sapphire blue, and maybe an emerald green.
Ooh, green would look nice.
Maybe that's why I wore this shirt today.
Right?
Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Or there's purple. There's royal purple, but I'm not sure if that would look as good beside the other two.
I
I
don't know,
don't know.
because it's kind of like doing like a red, white. I was like, this is like a red, white, and blue thing. What am I going to do with this? And it's like, because a lot of the books that I do like the graphics and stuff for, I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Because I only have like a selection of things on the application. So I'm like, what? Oh God, what am I going to do with this? Because I don't really have any, like royal gold stuff. So I think this time I did the roses in different colors, in the blue, the gold, and the red. Really nice. So it's like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna add to that? I think green would work. I think that nice.
Yeah, dark, rich emerald green. I mean, again,
Yeah,
they're the colors of jewels, which
yeah.
suits both the theme of the Tudor
And but
court and
and
Emmie's interest.
didn't he give her an emerald necklace?
He did, yes.
Yeah. So see, there go green. Done.
Green. Oh,
Oh.
green. All right.
Well, you have a
Well,
wonderful day in the
thank you.
future because it's tomorrow there, right?
It is tomorrow. It's Friday.
25th. It's Friday there. That's so weird. It's like hello from the past.
Yeah, it's very fitting for this topic of discussion.
Right? And we will know next time not to do it extremely early so that you're not waking up at the butt crack of dawn because nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, no, this was fine. Thank you.
Goodness.
We'll talk
I hate
then.
time zones.
Oh, me too. I'm dealing with them all the time, as you can imagine.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to get back to this. The kids are on their own for dinner. I'm going to read and I will message you when I am done.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. Speak to you soon.